You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
We're back at the Paracast, and we have a subject that we haven't dealt with in a while. We're going to talk about Sasquatch instead of UFOs. We've been doing so much UFO stuff, and last week, as many of our regular listeners know, we were focused on the great debate. Are UFOs extraterrestrial or something else? We had a great group of people. Forum members, Thomas Morrison, Robert Brandstetter, whom many of you know if you follow our forums as Burned State. We had Mike Jones, who is one of our forum moderators, talking from his palatial estate or shack or whatever it is in Australia. And we also had Marduk, real name Jason. So it was a fascinating journey, so fascinating, in fact, that we continue the discussion in After the Paracast. And the only way to hear After the Paracast is to sign up for the Paracast Plus. Go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com for more information. And once you do that, well, sir or ma'am, then you will be able to get that extra show, plus a version of this show free of the network ads and lots of other content. Okay, in fact, recently we offered the first 2 episodes of Haunted from Paul Kimball and Holly Stevens. Of course, you had to ask for a special password to get the video and to see the video, but we did offer that as exclusives to Paracast Plus subscribers, so check it out. It might be a nice gift for the holidays, by the way. So check it out. And by the way, for regulars, they've asked me if we can add other payment systems to the Paracast Plus, because we currently use PayPal and major credit cards. And I think we can set up something very near future, next month or two, that would involve you the ability to actually transfer the money to the bank account from your bank account. So if you don't like PayPal, it's another option, plus.theparacast.com. So we're going to take a monster hike, a 100-mile inquiry into the Sasquatch mystery, kind of an odyssey. And we've asked Avrel Seale to join us and explain what the heck is going on. Avrel, welcome to the Paracast.
Thank you, Gene. I sure appreciate you having me on.
So tell us here, this is kind of a backgrounder. Did you ever have a personal experience or something that led you to seeking information about the unknown?
Well, it's interesting how people approach the unknown, what be it UFOs or this subject or many others. I've always been open-minded about it. And of course, I came of age in the 70s and the early 80s. And of course, the Patterson-Gimlin film was fresh in the 70s. And there was a wave of pop culture focus on Bigfoot. And, I was aware of it in that sense. And then it just always just interested me for reasons I can't entirely explain. I've always been drawn to the subject, and it kind of just seemed like not to get too new age about it, but the universe just kind of kept placing the subject in front of me, saying, look at this, look more at this, pay attention to this, what's going on with this. And so I followed my curiosity about it, and it led me to some remarkable places.
Isn't that interesting about the universe, how sometimes it does things that you wish it wouldn't do, and other times it finds ways to take you into areas that actually make a lot of sense?
I think that's the way it works, and people have had different names for it over the years. And I'm a person of faith, and so I have that connection to mystery too, and which I talk about some in the book. Some of the parallels between faith and belief in mysteries like this one, and there are a lot of parallels. But I had never had, to answer your original question, I had not had a personal experience until I was aware that there had been a lot of sightings in this particular area. And so from the first time I went out there, my eyes were open and my ears were open to the possibilities. And I don't want to give away too much of a spoiler about the book, but I'll say that it's interesting that I don't. One of my major themes in the book is that I don't think if I had not believed in them, and had I not known that they were out there, according to lots of other people, I don't think I would have picked up on any of the things that I eventually saw and heard. I wouldn't have seen tracks. I wouldn't have heard vocalizations. I wouldn't have seen evidence that, and I actually did see. So it was kind of a gradual. This was the monster hike that the title refers to was my 5th trip to this particular forest, and of course the biggest one. The other ones had just been one-off, one-night camping trips. But all that time, I had been my curiosity had been building about what was actually living out there.
All right, let's kind of run back a little bit more about your background. First of all, what part of the country are you in? I'm
in Texas, lifelong Texan, 6th-generation Texan, and I grew up in deep South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. It's 1 hour from the Gulf. It's 10 minutes from Mexico, and there really isn't forest to speak of down there. It's geographically, it's called the Tamaulipan scrub, and it's mesquite and cactus and then palm trees that do very well down there, but are mostly imported from the Caribbean and from Africa. But so forests themselves were kind of a novelty that I only discovered really and experienced in adulthood, because growing up in the valley, as we call it, there aren't many trees that grow more than about 20 feet tall. And those are mesquite and a couple of, oak trees here and there. But it was really, now I live in Austin, which is in central Texas. And where this hike took place was an hour north of Houston, which is about 3 hours east of me, of where I live.
All right. Now, that's an interesting thing here. I know that there are these places around the country where people see strange creatures, such as a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it. Now,
right.
This particular area you're talking about, do other things happen there too, like UFOs, or is it strictly creatures?
As far as I know, this is. I've heard people on other shows talk about dogmen, which sounds, even if there's anything that could sound crazier than Bigfoot, it's other sorts of hybrid type animals. But I don't have any evidence or real reason to believe that's out there. I think across the continent, there is also another phenomenon of people seeing orbs of light in association with Sasquatch sightings. And I have no idea if that's cause and effect, or if those are affiliated in some way, but it is something that you hear when you're in this world, and that there'll be these orbs of light just kind of, and these aren't, descending out of the sky. They're just kind of appearing. People will talk about them just kind of appearing in the forest at kind of eye level, off in the distance, maybe, 50, 100 feet off. And then other, paranormal, other strange occurrences around those. And I have no idea if that's causation or a correlation, or if there's just strict coincidence. But, my experience, I don't have any experience with that.
The reason I mentioned that is that Chris, of course, has written those books about the mysterious valley. And it's supposedly a hot spot where lots of strange, weird stuff goes on. And therefore, he looks into different areas around the world where you have the same thing, not just, there's Bigfoot here. There are UFOs. There are people reporting other weird phenomena. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you more about your background and experiences as we progress, so that we can get a better sense of your odyssey here. And I'm going to ask you for a few case histories, give people a little hint of what they'll get from the book Monster Hike, a 100-mile inquiry into the Sasquatch mystery by Avrel Seale, published by our friends at Anomalous Books. More to come. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy
We've got like, I guess, 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com. Stop by and take a shopping tour.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. 800-667-9035. That's 800-667-9035.
A commemorative President Trump dollar for only $5? Yes, the historic Trump dollar starts at only $5 at TrumpDollar.us. Choose from our unique 3-coin collection in gold, silver, and copper. The Vote Trump dollar, inaugural Trump dollar, and Make America Great Again Trump dollar. Available only at TrumpDollar.us. Minted in the USA, our Trump dollars commemorate President Trump's patriotic stand. Order your Trump dollar collection today in time for Christmas delivery at TrumpDollar.us. That's TrumpDollar.us.
Attention type 2 diabetics. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA has warned that Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR and other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes cause an increased role in amputations of the toes, feet, and legs. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-475-7607. That's 800-475-7607. Again, 800-475-7607. Call now. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. www.injuryhelpdesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So you're in the Paracast. I have someone with me virtually from deep in the heart of Texas, Avrel Seale, author of Monster Hike. Avrel, one other question here. I don't know if you want to tell us or not. I assume you have a day job. Can you tell us about what you do?
I'll tell you some. I work at the University of Texas, and I'm sort of an all-purpose writer in the university communication office. And I've been blessed to be at this university for a long time. I was the editor of the alumni magazine for some 17 years, and have worked for the university itself in several different positions. But But suffice it to say, I'm kind of an all-purpose writer for the university's communications office.
Obviously, we asked this question, what do they think of your indulgences in the world of the unknown?
Well, this is a fairly recent step that I've taken to write this book, and those who know about it I'll have to say, are very supportive, and I appreciate that. I did not know how that was going to go, but I certainly appreciate their support so far.
What's interesting here, I think, is that we don't have the stigma anymore for people who write about this stuff, as long as I guess they don't get too crazed about it. Now, I'm looking over your background.
Let's not jinx it.
Well, you never know. I mean, someone will call you right now. The phone's ringing.
It's early.
Yeah. You also jumped into the world of fiction, which I've done. Can you tell me just quickly as a background, what type of fiction is that?
Well, I will say I'm mainly write nonfiction. I have written a couple of fiction novellas, really. I wrote a screenplay and a kind of a companion novella that was sort of a fantasy genre, I guess. And then I wrote another novella that was, I call it an afterlife comedy. There's a show on TV right now with a very similar premise, kind of a humorous take on the afterlife and the lessons that we might learn from this life. But by and large, I write nonfiction. I don't know that I'll go back to writing fiction. And interestingly, my first dalliance with the Bigfoot subject was fiction. I wrote a novella when I first started thinking about this stuff. And, looking back on it, it wasn't very good. This was about 20 years ago. But the effect that it had on me was that the research that I did to write that novel pretty much made me a believer and kind of led me down a path. And, I think now I would probably not write, I'll never say never, but I'll probably not write a piece of fiction about this subject at this present time, because I think that that muddies the water. People, see somebody who's writing fiction. Well, he spins a great yarn, he tells a great tale. Maybe he's telling tales about this too. I prefer to keep, I'm very serious about this as an actual fact. And I think if you kind of try to straddle that line or go back and forth between nonfiction and fiction, people just get confused about the fact that the subject itself is nonfiction. It is not a fictitious creature.
But let's talk briefly about your viewpoints about Sasquatch. So, and this is the fundamental of it here. Do you think they are creatures beyond this world, or are they just earthly creatures that maybe we should know more about?
This is a question that there are warring camps over this, as with so many other things. I think that, and what I say in the book is that they are at least flesh and blood creatures. I have a friend of mine. I attribute that to a friend of mine, Christopher Noel, who's written a number of books on the subject too. But that's not to say that that's all they are. It's to say that they're flesh and blood creatures is not to say that they're basically just upright gorillas. I think it's entirely possible that they have abilities that we don't understand yet. And I think that we have to get away from this binary thinking that says that either we understand something 100% or it doesn't exist. Or for another set of people, either we understand something completely or it's magic, or it's extraterrestrial. And I guess this kind of goes to your the show that you had the other night on ET. But, I'm perfectly comfortable saying that I know that they're flesh and blood creatures because they make prints. They leave prints in the ground. They leave hair behind. They have, there's scat and so forth. So they are physical creatures. Now, do they have other abilities to hide themselves that we don't understand? Maybe. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who claim that they've seen them basically just vanish into thin air. And it sounds crazy, but so do I to most people, So you'll find that I'm very slow to call something crazy anymore. I'm very slow to say, oh, I've got the answers, and everybody else, who's on the other side of one of these questions, are they flesh and blood? Are they extra dimensional or so forth? I'm very slow to claim exclusive knowledge of the truth, and that everybody else is crazy, because frankly, we just don't know. And we have to get comfortable with the fact that we don't know. And I believe that attitude leaves the door open to greater knowledge, and to say that, people who think that they can cloak themselves are just wacky. Well, that just kind of slams the door to future knowledge about that. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but it's not for me to say who's in possession of the truth about all this stuff.
What about things like dimensional portals, things like that, where they come from Earth 38 or whatever it is, and they come into this portal deliberately or accidentally and end up here?
I wouldn't say that I believe that. I don't think it's necessary to go to that length to explain them. But again, I'm perfectly comfortable saying maybe, develop a theory and try to test it, and go from there. And Godspeed. I haven't seen any evidence of that, and I don't know that we need to go to that. It's pretty incredible as it is. I don't think that, to me, that seems like kind of gilding the lily to claim that they go in and out of dimensions. But again, it could be.
Well, they're taking it basically very careful approach there. I see. You don't want to make assumptions about things. And this is one of the arguments that we were having in last week's show. Are we assuming too much when we talk about possible extraterrestrial UFOs? Because at this point, we know something strange is happening. We do have evidence of extrasolar planets, but it doesn't necessarily mean we can put the two together at this point, and that starts a lot. We have more to come with Avrel Seale, author of Monster Hike. You're in the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com. Virtual care anywhere.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA-packed technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
People search the internet for everything, including you. With a few clicks, information from your past can be quickly discovered, from business deals gone wrong to misleading reviews, negative articles, and unflattering images. Studies show 78% of people search for someone online before doing business with them. Will they find the real you? With ReputationDefender.com, you can establish a positive internet presence. ReputationDefender.com pioneered the field with over a decade of experience, serving thousands of successful individuals and businesses. We use patented, award-winning systems to boost positive content and suppress negative material. Don't let the internet define you. Take control of your reputation today with ReputationDefender.com. For your quick, free reputation analysis, call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
What looks good under your Christmas tree and tastes even better? Big Berkey water filters. Yes, the gift of clean water. A gift that provides a great foundation for achieving good health in the lives of your loved ones. A Big Berkey water filter gives them protection from bacteria, heavy metals, chlorine, fluoride, pesticides and herbicides, VOCs and more. And best of all, a Big Berkey water filter is a gift that lasts for many years with no additional investment. And that saves time and money in filter replacements that other water filters require and are even powerful enough to purify treated, untreated, or even stagnant pond water. As always, all orders over $50 are shipped free, and GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Order online at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com, spelled Big, B-E-R-K-E-Y, waterfilters.com, or call 877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-B-E-R-K-E-Y. Gift well this Christmas. Give a Big Berkey water filter.
Message and data rates may apply.
Warning, texting while driving is illegal just about everywhere. So if you want to take advantage of a life-changing LASIK offer, pull over when you can, because a special opportunity is just one text away. The LASIK Vision Institute is offering absolutely free evaluations and dramatically low prices on high-quality LASIK. Text the keyword CLEAR55 to 350350 to get the benefit of FDA-approved LASIK technology that gives the majority of patients 20/20 vision for a fraction of what others charge. Text to schedule your free appointment to see if LASIK is right for you. When you text CLEAR55 to 350350, you'll also get an extra 20% discount off our already low-cost services. We've already performed over 1 million procedures. Today, it's your turn. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you've always wanted for a fraction of what others charge. This great offer is just a text away. Text CLEAR55 to 350350. That's CLEAR55 to 350350.
This is Leslie Kane, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
We're continuing our exploration, or our preliminaries, about what led to a monster hike. And that's the title of a book from Anomalous Books from Avrel Seale. Avrel, why go on this voyage in the first place?
That's a great question. I think I didn't set out to do a solo Bigfoot expedition. It kind of became that. I was creeping up on my 50th birthday, and like a lot of people, I wanted to do something kind of momentous to mark the occasion. And I was not in good enough shape, nor have I ever had any desire to do a marathon or skydive, which, as I say in the book, is over too soon, no matter how well or poorly it goes. But I've always enjoyed the outdoors. I've done a lot of camping with my sons and a lot of hiking, and so this felt like something that I could do. And it wasn't. The Appalachian Trail is, I think, over 2,000 miles. The Pacific Crest Trail, these two twin pillars of American outdoorsmanship were sort of beyond my reach. I didn't have the vacation time to do that sort of thing. And I'm a father of 3 young boys. And so this Lone Star Trail in East Texas was something that I could do all of. And could do all of in about a week. As it turns out, it took me 8 days. And so, I prepared for it for probably 2 years, just going on other hikes, kind of dialing in my gear, figuring out what I needed and didn't need. But all that while, in the back of my mind was, I'm going online, I'm looking at databases for sighting reports, and I'm noticing more and more and more chatter about Sam Houston National Forest. And so these two things kind of developed in parallel. And if I had gone out there and done the hike and hadn't seen or heard anything interesting, there wouldn't be a book. It wouldn't have been a monster hike. It just would have been my, my 50th birthday hike. But it turned into something more interesting than that. Another part of this is that, I believe in direct experience. I had read enough books and seen enough videos and seen enough photos, purported photos, to last a lifetime. And so I had kind of reached the point where I wanted to either confirm it for myself or move along. But at the root of it, it's just kind of a basic human curiosity. Do these things exist or not? And how could I, what would it take? What would be the odds that I could go out there and experience something, either hear one or see tracks, see stick structures, that sort of thing. And so as time went along, as I said earlier, this was my 5th trip, and on 2 of the previous 4 trips, I had experienced something that led me to believe that the reports that were coming from out there were true. And I can tell you a little bit more about those if you'd like.
Sure, please do.
Well, the very first time I went out there, I was on the eastern section of the trail called the Big Creek section. And I went with my oldest son, who then was in 4th grade. We had Finding Bigfoot, the TV show on Animal Planet, had just come on that season, that year, I believe. And we had both kind of been watching it and interested in it, and saw those guys go out there and do wood knocks on trees and yell into the blackness and hear calls, vocalizations coming back to them and so forth. So we had not been on a backcountry camping trip before. And so we took off, went out there. Like I say, it's about 3 hours from our home. And we got a little bit of a late start, and we pulled in at sundown. The sun had gone down. It was dusk. And we were about to go in on the Lone Star Trail. And this was a developed campground. There are 2 developed campgrounds out there on the trail. This is the eastern one called Double Lake. And there's a park host there. This is a national forest. And I think there's probably a private vendor who runs these campgrounds. And so this was in a serious period of drought too. And so what we were planning to do is just get out and hike into the trail a little bit, and then go off the trail a few feet, camp, and then walk on in the morning. So we parked the truck. He and I got out. We were putting mosquito repellent on, and the park host comes up behind us quickly and says, "Oh, hey, how are y'all doing? Can't go out on the trail. They're not allowing camping on the trail because it's we're in drought phase, and they're afraid trees are going to fall over on you." So I was like, "Well, that's kind of weird, but okay, we'll just stay in the campground and go out in the first thing in the morning." And right then. And Gene, we had not been out of my truck for more than 5 minutes. I hear this woo from across this dry lake bed.
Why, it's Lon Chaney Jr.
And I turned to the park host, and I don't want to tip my hand. I said, "What was that?" And he's messing with his phone or something. I said, "Oh, it's probably a coyote." And I looked down at my son, and he looked back at me, and I just raised an eyebrow. We both just kind of laughed, because this vocalization was just spot on. And I've heard a lot of coyotes in my life, and this did not sound like anything that I had ever heard. And coyotes do make a lot of otherworldly noises, and every night they do. But one, the sun was not quite down yet, and 2, this sounded like something very loud, very powerful, at a pretty good distance. You can tell in the forest. If something is an owl that's 50 feet away, you can tell the difference between that and something that's screaming its lungs out half a mile away. The forest echo sounds different in both of those events. So I was fairly convinced at that time that that's what we had heard.
So, Avrel, at what point did you decide that, maybe that's not what I heard?
Well, to this day, I think that is what I heard. But I think over time, I think time tends to smooth the edges off of memories, kind of like water smooths the edges off of rock. And over the next year, 2 years, I started to entertain the idea, well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a coyote after all, or maybe it was a barred owl or something else. I think just because I didn't want to be that wild-eyed believer. I wanted something more solid. And I got something more solid the third time that I went out, and I can tell you about that too.
The third time is the charm. I'll tell you what, we have about 1:10 for this segment. And by the way, if listeners are wondering what's happening with Chris, he is here, but we can't get his mic to be audible. He's taken an oath of silence or something. I don't want to say that, sometimes these weird things happen. Let's be frank about it. Skype released a major update where the interface was completely overhauled. And I hate it. And Chris hates it. I can't ask Avrel because he doesn't use Skype often enough to hate it yet. But believe me, that'll come. And it's got some of that artwork that's descended from Windows and Windows 8 Metro, where you have the stick pin lettering and all this silliness, and kind of simplified artwork that ends up being more complicated because they haven't got a sense of simplicity and elegance, that sort of thing. But I don't want to get into that. But we're going to talk about more things that Avrel Seale encountered as he begins this great journey to find out more about Sasquatch. Okay, the monster hike. And what kind of monsters, huh? We'll find out. So Chris O'Brien is somewhere out there trying to break in. We'll have more to come. You're in the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Frustrated trying to get business capital? Want to take the slow process and rejection out of the equation? GCNloans.com removes the slow, irritating approval process. Instead, get quick, simple funding. Powered by David Allen Capital, 80% of our pre-qualified clients are approved in days. Pre-qualify at GCNloans.com and get your money this week. It's that easy. GCNloans.com. That's GCNloans.com.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our responsibility. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
It's been said, any society is only 3 missed meals away from chaos. Those times may be near. Think about it. Our country faces multiple terrorist threats and aggressions from Russia and North Korea. Social unrest and violent marches yet again may lead to looting of stores and city shutdowns. And our crumbling infrastructure leaves our power grid vulnerable to long-term outages from a single cyber attack. When the chaos from any one of these threats arises, the government knows it can't provide during a widespread national emergency. That's why you need your own plan for self-reliance. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. Get a 4-week survival food supply for only $99. That includes breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Order online at preparewithgcn.com. $99 for 4 weeks of survival food that tastes like homemade cooking and lasts up to 25 years from My Patriot Supply. Get your kits today at preparewithgcn.com. Free shipping is included. Preparewithgcn.com.
Kiss your credit card debt goodbye. I'm Pharmacist Keith. Dr. Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy, and myself want to show you how to achieve financial peace, creating an extra income that will last for years to come by joining Dr. Wallach's crusade, spreading his message of better health. To learn more, visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com, radio.recordedvideo.com, or call 866-257-3105 for a recorded message.
Hi, it's Grant Cameron from presidentialufo.com. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Okay, with Gene and now with Chris, we're going to take a monster hike. And I think the monsters have interfered. The monsters of Skype have interfered with us. Because what we had to do was we had to help Chris install an older version of Skype on his Mac, because a newer version is not letting him participate in what we call a group conversation with 3 people, me, Chris, and of course our guest, Avrel Seale. And Avrel is the author of Monster Hike.
Well, a couple of things, Avrel, listening to when Gene was asking what do you think that we're dealing with here, and you seem to come down on the cryptozoological side, the physical creature, undiscovered, as yet unproven, but a flesh and blood creature that has a breeding population, that has to, gather food and eat, and it has a life cycle and rears young and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And, I think a lot of the preponderance of the evidence would support that. But again, I think you brought up the comparison to UFOs. There are certain cases that then kind of leave you scratching your head. My brother actually was involved in a case just below Stevens Pass in Washington State back in the mid-'70s. And the creature walked across a logging road within a very close proximity of them. They didn't see it because they were on a curve. And the creature walked across before they actually made their way around the curve. It was, based on his descriptions, it was less than 100 feet away, but they never saw it. They smelled it. The horses smelled it. When they got the horses settled and got around the curve, there was a footprint on one side of the road. There was one in the middle of the road, of the dirt. It was like a dirt logging road. Mm-hmm. One on the other side. Grass was still coming up that had been crushed in the print. Grass was still raising up out of the print. Mm-hmm. And then there was a swoop mark on the bank, the cut through the hillside, and a broken branch at the top. But there were no tracks approaching and no tracks leaving. And it was similar terrain, and there should have been evidence of this creature approaching the road and leaving the road. And all they had were the 5 trace print evidence to go on, and there was no other evidence. And I've had other cases where tracks have stopped in mid stride. I've read about cases where you've just had a set of tracks that are isolated by the environment. How do we explain that without the creature being able to teleport? Or obviously there's the whole possibility of people aren't just able to see the evidence, but in a couple of cases I recall professional trackers have been left scratching their heads because they could not find any evidence of where the creature went, that its tracks ended inexplicably.
That's a great question. I don't pretend to know the answer, but one thing that might be playing in is that a lot of people believe and have seen them coming down out of trees. So I think they're probably more arboreal than people believe. Certainly the young ones.
That's a good idea. That makes sense. We were in the trees ourselves at one point.
So if one were to just, playing this out, if one were to drop down out of a tree, walk 50 feet, and then climb back into another tree, well, you've got a segment of a trackway there of the naturalistic explanation. But again, I am not here to tell anybody that they haven't seen what they've seen.
Right. I never thought to ask. Well, what was the proximity of the trees? Of course, in that part of the Cascades, you mentioned that you'd been on the Pacific Crest Trail.
Oh, I have not. Actually, just to be clear, I have not been. The point I was making is that I couldn't do that, nor could I do the Appalachian Trail, just for logistical reasons, and that's why I picked a much shorter, much more modest goal.
Yeah, I grew up out there in Western Washington and have hiked big portions of that particular trail, including the highest portion on the entire length of it, Dutch Miller Gap in that area. And I'll tell you, it is not for the faint of heart. That is some rugged country out there, and you'd almost have to be 7-8 foot tall to really negotiate a lot of the terrain out there comfortably. Because I'll tell you, I was 15 years old in incredible shape, and it really kicked my tail.
Yeah. Long stride can come in handy, I'm sure.
Yeah, it can. It reminds me of a case I investigated in Colorado actually in northern New Mexico, where he was like a cattle brand inspector, witnessed a figure, a white appearing Bigfoot, go up a fire cut that he tried to duplicate what the creature had done in about 40 minutes. And it took him literally half an afternoon to go up the stretch of fallen timbers. And, they just cut down trees basically and left them where they lay, and very, very steep, rugged terrain. And he gave up really even trying to do it because it was so difficult. And he remarked to me that it would have to have superhuman athletic ability to be able to scramble up that particular stretch in the amount of time that it took. So, and this is, obviously anybody who's had any sort of interest in this subject will encounter these types of descriptions time and time again of the incredible athleticism that these creatures have. I've been away. I have not had a chance, I'll be honest, to go over the book. I'm really interested in doing so. You're getting great reviews, by the way, on the book. Lauren Coleman is calling it one of the top 10 books of the year, crypto books. Congratulations! He's a tough nut to crack. Believe me, Lauren's. He's now become one of the elder statesmen in this whole field, and
sure.
And having his recommendation is gonna help book sales. Let me tell you,
it meant a lot to me. Whether it helps sales or not, it meant a lot to me.
Well, yeah, just having Lauren say that is wonderful. But rest assured, a lot of people listen to what he has to say, and
I hope so.
And so it makes me want to read the book all that much more. Let's put it that way. I've had a lifelong fascination with Bigfoot. I finally got invited to speak at my first crypto conference.
Was that right? Where's that?
A couple of months back. David Pilates conference that he had in Denver, the High Mountain Mystery Conference, I think he called it.
Nice.
That would be something that you might consider doing, is getting together with David and Ron Morehouse, I think, in that whole.
I know those names.
Very good conference.
Well, yeah, I haven't been really a part of this community yet. I'm kind of just parachuting into this subject in a way. I've been interested in it for a long time, but have not been in contact. But I know all these names that you're mentioning, and
right,
it would be fun.
About your trip, now we kind of unceremoniously interrupted, I might say. And you had mentioned that you had arrived at the campsite, and the camp host had heard the sound that you and your son had heard and said that it was probably just a coyote. I think that's about where we finally attempted to finally get me in the audio chain here. So why don't you continue from there?
Okay. Well, so we went and did our hike and nothing really else happened that I do remember that we stayed in camp that morning. That night, just on a regular old tent pad. But we wanted to get a hike in. We didn't want to come all that way and just, camp in the tent and go back home. We wanted to get a hike in, I'll speak for myself. I wanted us to go hiking. So we got up before dawn the next day, just in the black of the morning and set out into the trail. And I just remember that I heard this big movement in front of me. It sounded like something was on the trail and then moved off the trail. And in this part of the country, just so you can picture the forest, it's a pine forest, but the understory of this forest is completely dominated by yopon holly, which is it can be a bush or a shrub or a tree, depending on what size it is. But the yopon cover the south. And they go into about central Texas, and that's their range. But a lot of the witnesses and a lot of the investigations that have gone on in these forests of East Texas, yopon figures pretty heavily because it creates this thicket at the ground level that really it could conceal anything. I say at one point in the book that a brontosaurus could be hiding, behind a screen of this yopon, and you wouldn't know it.
You know what? We'll find out more about what's hidden there as we continue with Gene and Chris going on a monster hike. You're in the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors, classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So that's Chris doing his Bigfoot imitation. And he's actually kind of upset because Skype engaged in a serious conspiracy with him, where Skype would not let him speak during the session until he went back and installed an old version.
Right.
But we're going on a monster hike with Avrel Seale. Avrel.
Yes, sir.
Let us continue our great journey.
Good. Well, so there was something, as I said, that moved in front of us. And, this could have been a deer. In fact, at the time, I thought it probably was a deer because there are a lot of deer out there. But I just remember that it just moved. It sounded like something just stepped off the trail and then stopped. In my experience, a deer would not just stop 10 feet off the trail. It would keep on going. And so I've just always remembered that and wondered about that, because this is an area, would be San Jacinto County. And there are 3 counties that make up San Jacinto National Forest, and all 3 of them just have numerous sightings on record. So as I say, the years went by, and I kind of climbed back on the fence about that whole vocalization. Like, well, maybe it was a barred owl, maybe it really was a coyote. Who knows? And then I went out 2 more times. Nothing happened on either of those trips. And then the 4th time that I went out, it was with a buddy. And we went on the other end of the trail, in the far western section of the trail. And it was January 4th, I believe. It was basically still the holiday break, and I hadn't gone back to work yet. I would go back to work the following day. But this friend of mine and I went out there. We went about 2.5 miles in, and then we hammock camped at a little pond there on the Lone Star Trail. And, that time of year, it gets dark early and it stays dark in the morning. And it was about 35 degrees, probably not quite freezing, but practically freezing. At 6 a.m. that morning, I was awake, but I hadn't gotten out of my hammock yet. And we were both in hammocks, and both of our hammocks had tarps over them, staked down in such a way that we couldn't see out because it was cold and we wanted to retain our body heat. So both of us, we were about 15 feet apart at 6 a.m. And it's key to the story is it's perfectly still out there. It's one of those mornings in the forest that's just cold and nothing is moving. I mean, the insects aren't moving, birds aren't moving, no breeze of any kind. And about, I would say, 50 to 75 feet on the other side of my friend, I hear this clack. And then less than a half a second later, from about a quarter mile beyond that sound, I hear this. So I hear this very distinctive, close, sharp clack, followed by a double knock. At that point, there just really wasn't any question in my mind because I had been following this phenomenon, and I knew from reading, from documentaries that I had seen, videos and so forth, that this was a phenomenon that was closely associated with Bigfoots. The researchers believe this is how they communicate. They communicate by vocalization, but they also communicate through wood knocks. And some people believe it's actually wood on wood, like they're grabbing a branch, striking the trunk of a tree. Others think it's just them clapping their hands in such a way that makes kind of a hollow sound, like they have these huge, meaty hands. But in either event, I was very convinced after I heard that. And to me, it was a call and response. It was humans over here, and the other one was Roger that. That's the way I took it, and that's to this day, I think that's what was happening. I think they were, as I say, we were camping by this pond, and I believe that they were coming in for water. They were coming in to drink before sunup. One of them spotted us and signaled to the other one to back off. So at that point, of 4 trips out there, on 2 of those 4 occasions, I had these experiences that I was relatively sure were Sasquatch related. So my appetite was really whetted at that point to try to go for more than one night and see. I was batting 500. A guy who really didn't know what he was doing, but just had enough knowledge to go out there and what I was hearing at that point.
I'm not sure what else I can say other than wood knocks have become ubiquitous with the phenomenon. And I don't know how many shows now feature big burly guys running around in the forest, banging on trees. in my mind, it scares them away.
Well,
if I was trying to hunt Bigfoot, I'd be trying to use the stealth method, not the bull in the china shop banging on trees with big branches, that sort of thing. I really haven't ever seen one of the Bigfoot shows. I'm so, I don't know. I'm so down on the way Hollywood has a habit of taking the reality show format and ruining subjects, paranormal subjects, with that particular approach. And I literally have never seen Finding Bigfoot or any of those reality show Bigfoot shows. I've seen Monster Quest, which I like. I like their approach. Some of their segments are very compelling. Mm-hmm. But from the short little bits that I've seen of trailers, and maybe somebody will have a YouTube clip that they post and I'll watch the first 5 seconds, it literally turns me off within 5 seconds. And a lot of that is due to this whole idea of banging on trees.
Yeah.
Another thing that, another vocalization, and this comes from personal experience, is a whistling sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my, I was back in Washington State, hiking up the Carbon River on the north side of Mount Rainier, and that part of the Mouch Lake entrance was closed. We hiked in. It was, I think, the end of March or beginning of April. There have been very, very few people in there since the, the very, very early spring. And during the wintertime, you don't get much hikers hiking activity up there. And so we were hiking up through the forest alongside the river, and we hadn't seen or heard any animals, which I found was quite unusual. Having lived the prior my 3 years of high school within about 40 miles of this location, I was very, very familiar with all the wildlife and the bird sounds at all times of the year. And I remember commenting to my girlfriend that it was strange that we had not seen or heard any animals, that it was really quiet. Mm-hmm. All we could hear was the sound of the river. And we got into an area of some real big western red cedars and big Doug firs. I mean, really big, 10-foot, diameter, 8-foot, and kind of low light on the forest floor with lots of moss and temperate rainforest type, just drippy. Everything was kind of dripping.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we get to a certain point in the trail where we have a pretty open view, at least 100 feet in front of us and behind us. And I heard a very unusual, very loud whistle. And it had kind of a questioning tone to it. And I stopped, and my girlfriend said, "Did you hear that? What was that?" And I said, "Oh, it must have been a bird." Knowing darn well it wasn't a bird, because I had never before or since heard a bird that sounded like that. And as soon as the words pretty much had gotten out of my mouth, we heard a higher pitched version of it behind us that was kind of answering. I said, let's go out towards the river and take a break. And as we started out, we were kind of going back away from the first sound and more towards the second sound. We heard the first sound again, and then the second sound was with the first sound. Somehow, whatever it was had gotten from behind us to in front of us, and yet we didn't see anything. And I would have to go back and check my notes on this in terms of the elapsed time. But I was very convinced that we had kind of a quasi, if you will, or pseudo Bigfoot encounter, because, as I said twice now, I'm really familiar with all the animal sounds and especially bird sounds in the area.
We got more to come. Pseudo Bigfoot encounter with Gene and Chris and Avrel. You're in the Paracast. Neighbors, we've made such a deal with HelloFresh, and it means that everyone listening to this show can receive $30 off your first week of deliveries when you go to HelloFresh.com and use the offer code Paracast30. With HelloFresh, you can choose the delivery day that works best for you. They've got a wide variety of chef-curated recipes that change weekly. And can you imagine me cooking Japanese panko chicken. It makes me feel like I'm a chef. It means also that you could actually get your meal cooked in 30 minutes. For busy people, this is perfect. The simple recipes include step-by-step instructions so even I can figure it out. Go to HelloFresh.com, use the offer code Paracast30 to get $30 off your first week of deliveries. HelloFresh.com.
Have you ever wondered who the second person to discover gravity was? When you're in the mood for a treat, would you go to the second best bakery in town? Or how about the name John Breckenridge? Recognize it? If you don't, that's because he came in second to Abraham Lincoln. The firsts are first for a reason. Just how ID Stronghold was the first to create the technology to protect your credit cards from thieves with RFID chip scanners. ID Stronghold products block signals from those scanners, so thieves can't capture your critical data. Get a stronghold on your personal information and protect your family too. Don't settle for the second best wallet. Pick up ID Stronghold wallets for everyone on your list this holiday season. They're the perfect stocking stuffer, with leather wallets starting as low as $20 on Walmart.com, eBay, Amazon, and QVC. Save 10% by using coupon code PRESENT for a limited time. That's coupon code PRESENT only on idstronghold.com. idstronghold.com.
You haven't experienced yogurt until you've tried a Mossy, embodying health and flavor in a true whole milk, green-fed dairy beverage. Every sip pays homage to our old world cows and the ancient culturing methods their milk benefits from. With over 30 probiotics, a Mossy's undeniably nutritious, refined, cultured sensation bolsters your health and awakens your passion for dairy. A Mossy's so good, and you need to try it. Contact your Youngevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products, most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at goberkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. goberkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Actual testimonials from real Numanna customers.
I've tried all kinds of food storage, and Numanna is by far the best.
I'm a single mom with 2 teenage boys and a full-time job. I don't always have time to cook a 4-course meal. That's where Numanna has been such a blessing. I can spend less time in the kitchen and more time on what matters most, like helping with homework.
Find out for yourself. Order online at thepowermall.com. That's thepowermall.com. Numanna is...
Food stores I love to eat. Yum!
Thepowermall.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Quasi?
Quasi. What do you mean by quasi?
Well, I don't know. I didn't see anything. I didn't smell anything. Normally, I would need one of those two things to really be completely convinced that that's the experience I've had in terms of one of our big hairy friends. But I didn't have the olfactory evidence, and I didn't have any sort of visual evidence. But the very fact that whatever it was able to go from behind us to in front of us without us seeing it do that, that puts it into a realm of high strangeness in my estimation, which, again, kind of kicks me back towards that possibility of some sort of ability to teleport. This thing was not going through the trees. The trees were too big. There were no branches down. Maybe it could have skinnied up one of these things. I doubt it. But we would have heard or seen something, I would think. This is much a different country than what you're describing in Texas.
It sure is, yeah.
This is primordial temperate rainforest. This is a whole different ball of wax. We're talking, 150, 200-foot trees,
right.
Huge trees, moss hanging everywhere, very, very wet, hence the rainforest designation.
Mm-hmm.
And by going up this trail, we literally were breaking through snowbanks that we could see nobody had traveled on the trail at least for a couple, 3 weeks since the last snowfall. So we didn't encounter any person, not a single person in the entire afternoon. We were pretty isolated and by ourselves up there. But what perfect conditions to encounter something like an undiscovered hairy hominid.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, what you're describing is what most people think of when they think of Bigfoot country. And what's been a revelation to me and a lot of other people is that, yes, they're out there, but they're also in places like where I was. They might be miles from anywhere, or they might be the best evidence that I found on this trip was this footprint that's on the cover of the book.
Yeah,
and
that was print too, by the way.
That was 50 yards from a parking lot and a highway. There were some pretty remote areas that I went through. The farthest I could get from a road, from any road, was 4 miles. And you would think, well, Texas, everything's bigger than Texas. But really, these are Forest Service roads and county roads cutting through. And the forest itself is kind of a patchwork. It depends on, you look at it on a Google geographical map, and it looks like this one big monolithic green thing. But then you go to the satellite shot and you can see little churches here and there and farms that were grandfathered into the national park and little towns kind of nestled in there. So,
and you don't have much relief there either. You're not going up and down like you would in the Cascades or the Mackenzies or the Rockies. I mean, one thing that I asked Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum when he was on the show is, I said, we have Bigfoot investigators saying that we've had Bigfoot reports in 48 or 50 states. And he kind of scoffed at that. He really did not come across as someone who accepts the idea that Bigfoot are seen in Ohio at the Grassman, for instance, or in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, or anywhere in New England, or some of anywhere pretty much in the Midwest. He said that they need a lot of terrain, water, and places to hide. And I mentioned to him the DuPont monster from southern Illinois. That's quite famous for haunting a couple of these lovers' lanes and being attracted by teenagers having sex. And, he kind of laughed at that and said, well, he doesn't really go there. He didn't really want to come down and say, oh, that's a bunch of BS or whatever. But he did pretty much say, no, these things are only, northern tier, British Columbia, Washington, Northern California, places where there's huge, miles and miles of virgin, forests and this sort of thing. And Bigfoot in Texas, they got to be really stealthy to be able to hang around parking lots, maybe dumpster dive, some of the things that they've been reported doing. Well, what are some of your favorite reports that you've heard from that part of the world there?
Well, most of the activity is to our east, because just to address Dr. Meldrum's point, and I have great respect for him, but if you look at a sightings map of all of North America, and you overlay that with a map of annual rainfall, it's a 1-to-1 match. I mean, it's very close, and it just tracks with cover. Where there's cover, things are living there. And my theory is that they understand what constitutes a barrier to humans, and they put as many of those between them and us as they can. But they're in Florida, all these swamp monsters, these stories from Louisiana and throughout the lower South that have been around for 100 years or more. The Ouachitas, Arkansas, the Ozarks, the Boggy Creek, Kentucky. We've got video from Ohio. A friend of mine in the field, I've mentioned before, Christopher Noel, does his research in Vermont. And he's actually working on a book right now on microforests, and is making a very compelling case that these things don't need miles and miles of remote territory in order to exist. They'll live damn wherever they please. And that might be right up next to a little rural subdivision, miles from rather feet from interstate highways if they want to.
People have been cruising along on the interstates and in large state highways for decades now, and looking over and seeing a Bigfoot standing there watching traffic go by. It's not an unusual description for a sighting event.
Sure, and by what authority can we say, well, they're only in the Northwest and in Canada? There's sighting reports at one point. What makes those so much more credible than sighting reports from other parts of the country that have plentiful game and plentiful cover and plentiful people there to see them? I don't understand why you would just out of hand reject thousands of eyewitness reports from other parts of the continent simply because maybe there wasn't enough, it wasn't mountainous or something like that. I mean, that seems like you're creating a theory to try to fit a preconceived notion instead of looking at what people are reporting and trying to build a theory from that.
Well, you know what I think it is? I think that's what he thinks his colleagues, who are barely allowing him to get away with professing interest in publicly getting involved in this very controversial subject matter. So if he makes it as acceptable and sanitized as possible for their liking, then he retains some sort of credibility. If he admits that there's the possibility that Bigfoot can be in Oklahoma and Kansas and places where there are no large forests really to speak of and very few places to hide, yet they still have reports, he would have a much harder time convincing his colleagues that he wasn't nuts.
Well, I think it's human nature. I do talk about this too, but it's human nature to always think that you're staking out the conservative ground, and that you kind of know where the boundary is between something that's common sense or something that's investigatable and other things that are just wacky and nuts. As I said earlier, the older I get, I'm very slow to call people crazy.
We continue our monster hike. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Have you ever wondered who the second person to discover gravity was? When you're in the mood for a treat, would you go to the second best bakery in town? Or how about the name John Breckenridge? Recognize it? If you don't, that's because he came in second to Abraham Lincoln. The firsts are first for a reason. Just how ID Stronghold was the first to create the technology to protect your credit cards from thieves with RFID chip scanners. ID Stronghold products block signals from those scanners, so thieves can't capture your critical data. Get a stronghold on your personal information and protect your family too. Don't settle for the second best wallet. Pick up ID Stronghold wallets for everyone on your list this holiday season. They're the perfect stocking stuffer, with leather wallets starting as low as $20 on Walmart.com, eBay, Amazon, and QVC. Save 10% by using coupon code PRESENT for a limited time. That's coupon code PRESENT only on idstronghold.com. idstronghold.com.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? NutriMedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutritious meal replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. NutriMedical's Life Support. Try our great tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com. NutriMedical.com for the whole family.
Hey folks, Tom D for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, ghosts, zombies, UFOs, crop circles, and more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people who seek a little more than the other dating services offer. You can join for free by going to paranormaldate.com, and if you decide you like it and you want to connect with others, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. So many people want to share their experiences with the paranormal, the afterlife, the unusual, and this is the place to meet and share common interests with those of like minds. So sign up for free at paranormaldate.com. That's paranormaldate.com. Use the code word George and start meeting others. Get going now and connect with someone you like.
Message and data rates may apply.
Guys, got hair loss? I know what you're thinking. Should I shave my head? Comb it over? Wear a hat? Just stop. This isn't 1970. Keep your hair and your confidence because Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration expert, can give you your real hair back permanently. Check them out today because they're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to everyone who texts EASY66 to 85850. Dude, you don't have to look like your dad because this isn't your dad's hair loss treatment. People all over the country trust Bosley because they're ahead of the curve. They use the latest technology to give you your real hair back. And the best part, Bosley's permanent solution is protected by the Bosley Guarantee. Let them show you for free how awesome your hair could look with an absolutely free information kit and a gift card for $250 off. Text EASY66 to 85850. Ask about the Bosley Guarantee. EASY66 to 85850.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So those of you who tuned in earlier in the episode and you wondered where Chris was for a couple of segments, we had a Skype audio problem. A reminder, too, that we have a second radio show called After the Paracast that's only available if you subscribe to the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. Some have asked if there's a way to pay for your Paracast Plus membership other than PayPal or a credit card through PayPal. And we're going to look for a method where you might be able to use your checking account and maybe even Bitcoin. We are looking for those things. Plus.theparacast.com. Chris?
Every time I bite a coin, I crack teeth. So I'm not sure if people want to be biting coins.
You're old school.
Well, Bitcoin, of course, is the digital currency that I think is up to like $10,000, $12,000 now. And it used to be $1,000.
Imagine if I had invested $1,000 5 years ago. Just my luck. I want to hear more from you about your book and some of the revelations that you've gained while being out in this environment and not having spent that much time in central western Texas in the areas where these creatures, and in eastern Texas too, obviously, the areas that predominantly feature Bigfoot reports. I've not spent that kind of time there. Now, a good friend of the show, Nick Redfern and Lyle Blackburn, I'm sure have spent some time in these areas, and they've mentioned that on the show. But it sounds like you've actually done quite a bit of traipsing around, if you will, this part of the world. And, what do some of the locals say? What's some of the local folklore and some of the stories that have sprung up around the subject? Give us a sense of how the local flavor of some of the events.
It's interesting because I've got a friend who lives about 5 miles from where I took the photo on the cover of this book. We were friends in college. She moved back to Houston, I think, where she grew up. And when I pushed this out on Facebook that I had published this book, she was totally shocked. Never heard of this before. What are you talking about? I can't believe this. And so, my experience with the locals out there are that many of them have never heard of this before. And it just goes to show you that the taboo that's in place around the subject. You'll run into people that's very self-assured. I've hunted all my life and I've never seen anything out there. And then therefore this probably doesn't exist or this can't exist. Or I've hunted and fished all my life and I've spent days and days outdoors, and I've never seen anything. You'll hear a lot of that kind of thing, a lot of denial. And it just goes to show you that I think there are two things going on with this phenomenon. One is their stealth, and they have a whole range of tools in their toolbox to achieve that stealth. But the other part of it that's equally important is our obliviousness. We're just not that observant in the scheme of things. If I hadn't been into this subject and if I had not known what I was looking at and for, I would have gone through 8 days and seen and heard absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. I wouldn't have noticed the prints that I noticed. I would have written off any of the sounds I heard overnight to birds or coyotes. The mind would have rationalized away any odd thing that I would have seen. Now, occasionally there'll be an exception to that, and one will step on the trail in front of somebody or cross a highway in front of somebody, and there's that shocking realization that, oh my gosh, there's something out here that really shouldn't be out here. But in the case of most people, we kind of wander through life with our eyes at eye level, not looking up or down.
Wait a minute. We're looking down at our cell phones.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I stand corrected.
I mean, how many videos have you seen now online of people walking, into fence posts, into lamp posts, into falling into fountains, into holes, construction sites?
Did you see the guy in China on his bike that rode his bike into a sinkhole? He was looking at a cell phone while he was riding his bike. It turned out he was okay.
No, but I've seen people almost take me out on the road.
He just disappears
while
off
driving.
The highway. But that's our nature, right? We're absorbed in our own little worlds. If you haven't committed to a belief, or if you're not at least open to the idea that these things are out there, then you would never see anything, hear anything out of the ordinary, unless it was some extraordinary. And I think the occasions where they've made mistakes and been spotted, I believe, are probably 90% to do with juveniles. What's the most dangerous animal in the wild? It's a mother grizzly, right? It's somebody who's gotten in between a mother grizzly and her cubs. And I think that just in the nature of juveniles, and we know this from our own juveniles, don't we? That they go places they're not supposed to go, they do things they're not supposed to do, and it's up to the parents to rein them in. And so I think in the cases where they have been spotted, my bet is that a lot of those cases are related to, well, someone's accidentally walked into a nursery, or someone's now building a campfire underneath a tree, and there's a juvenile in the tree, and so an adult has to come forward and harass that person out of the area to get them away from their babies. I think that has a lot to do with it. But that's just a long-winded way of saying I think our obliviousness is equally a factor in all of this as their stealth.
Again, human nature being what it is, I've often said that when people talk about UFO disclosure, for instance, that even if Obama if Trump had walked into the West Wing to a press conference, maybe in the Rose Garden, hand in hand with a little, 3-foot gray alien, that probably over half the people watching it wouldn't believe it. They'd think it was some special effects thing, and it was the government just trying to pull another fast one on the American people. People wouldn't believe their own eyes.
Yeah.
So to ask people to suspend their belief in anything in this country, especially, is you're asking for almost the impossible, because people don't know what to believe in. They don't know what to not believe in. I think things are so topsy-turvy and screwy, and science is becoming so isolated away from the everyday person, except for Neil, what's his name, Tyson. He would be, maybe Stephen Hawking in his own robotic sort of way would be exceptions to that rule. But, people are shutting down, I think, around a lot of their reality-based upbringing. And I think that they're looking for new and different things to believe in, because quite frankly, we're losing a lot of the things in our culture which I don't know, they kind of inspire us and get us wondering. And you know, there's just so much contention and so much divisiveness that's going on right now that Bigfoot, hey, why not? You know, at least I can believe in something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's either that or no way, like that can never exist because I don't understand it 100%.
Well, that's below the Bible Belt. Yeah. Then you get into that whole scenario. Well, what do you think? Do you think, you know, people in the South that encounter a skunk ape, I mean, do they think that they've been cursed by the devil and what they're seeing is of the devil, and that you know, God, you know, is a God-fearing, Bible-thumping, Bible Belt, you know, parishioner or, you know, church member? Do you think that they've been singled out by, you know, what's their thinking? I mean, how does a right-wing conservative Bible-thumping, you know, primal Christian, if you will, how do they reconcile a Bigfoot experience?
Let's have the answer to that question. Let's have the answer in our next segment. How do they?
Okay, Clem.
We don't want to have that started. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
Heart disease is on the rise. Clogged arteries, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol levels may not be fully detected by you, but the symptoms are there. Loss of energy, blood sugar spikes and drops, poor circulation, and irregular heartbeat are just a few of these that can alert you that something is wrong. Hear how Heart and Body Extract is making a difference in thousands of people's lives across America.
My blood pressure has normalized. My diabetes has totally improved.
Everyone is telling me now how much healthier I look, and I'm telling
telling everyone how much healthier I feel. I recommend Heart and Body Extract to everyone.
Anybody over 40 in the North American continent should be using this product as a preventative to keep their cardiovascular system healthy.
Order your 2-month supply today by calling 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. Or order online, hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract, 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
Hi, this is Bryce Abel. I'm the producer of Dark Skies, the co-author of AD After Disclosure, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Okay, we're now on troubled ground here. Avrel Seale joining Gene and Chris, and Chris is getting into it. I'm not going to even.
Well, I mean,
yeah, we aren't.
These things are
they'll say we're attacking other people's religions, man.
Well, they're seen in Kentucky. They're seen in Arkansas. They're seen in northern Florida. They're seen in Georgia, and there's a lot of born-again Christians and Baptists and stuff that live in these places. How do they deal with an experience with something that's not supposed to exist in their God-fearing universe? That's a legitimate question.
That's a good question, and in fact, I have mentioned Baptists in this book because in this particular forest, it's about 100%. I say 100% market share of religious or these one-room Baptist churches. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing in the Bible that says that these things can't exist and that they cannot exist. I think some people who look to the Bible for justification or for explanation of things, a lot of them look at Genesis chapter 6, this nonchalant, bizarre mention of giants in the earth. And the verse is, in those days and even later, there were giants in the earth. If you're reading Genesis closely, there's enough there, that you could hang this whole phenomenon on that if you wanted to.
Now, were these the same giants that found the women of Earth fair?
Yes, the same ones.
Interesting.
The Nephilim is the plural
Nephilim,
Hebrew name. Right.
So
make of that what you want. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know that that's what these are referring to. But I haven't heard that. I do think there's more of a kind of a code of silence across the South. I've kind of picked up on that. And Mama and Papa, would see these things and they'd tell people, don't be talking about that. You go into town, don't tell people about that. We don't. There's a sort of instinctive silence that comes in, a curtain of silence that falls over things that you might be accused of being crazy. And that's just, I think, a heightened sense of reputation, a more guarded sense of reputation that's cultural in the South. Bob Garrett has talked about that on some of the podcasts that I refer to in the book. He's the investigator in that area that I talk at pretty great length about. But I remember him saying on one show that his either his parents or his grandparents or whoever it was he first asked about, because he saw one when he was a teenager out there. They said, just leave those things alone and don't talk about them to anybody. That was kind of the party line, and I think that's probably true for a lot of families across the South. They don't want strangers coming in and investigating things. Right. They might find the still,
or they might find the inbred, cousin Larry, or
who knows? You see, cousin Larry is going to write us and say, why did you do that? I'm going to sue you. Will I get sued by Cousin Larry?
Well, I could have really been ethnocentric and said Jethro or some real knee-jerk kind of stereotyped Southern male name. Joe.
Remember. All right, stop. Our guest lives in Texas.
Yes, he does.
I'm not like that. I love Southern people. I think that they're genuine. They're like very straightforward. They're fun. They have great sayings. I've never, my favorite Texan was my favorite Texan because of his irreverence, and he would come up with analogies that would just curl your toes. Texans just have a way of describing things as being like other things. That I think few mortals can rival the ingenuity of Texas axioms.
Busier than a mosquito in a nudist colony. That's my favorite of all time, I think.
Yeah, what's the Confucius one about nonviolence? When a mosquito lands on your testicles, you learn very quickly about
hitting back is not always the answer. Is that right?
Something like that. Anyway, we digress. Damn.
Indeed.
So, okay, in a perfect world, now you're out there tramping along. You're hitting some of these wonderful areas that have all these thickets and wonderful pine forests. I mean, what are you expecting to encounter? What would be your idealized encounter that wouldn't leave you, having to change your drawers?
Well, that's a great question. And I thought about that a lot before I went out there. I said, okay, I'm going to be out there for 8 days. And however many nights I can hack out there. What do I want? What do I want to see? Because the more stories I hear, the less sure I am I would want to see one of these things. People have all kinds of different reactions to seeing them. And let me just insert here that in my estimation, there have been 10,000 reports of Bigfoots in North America over the last 150 years, say. So that this 10,000 number is a number I come back to often. But from all the witnesses that it's everything from kind of awestruck wonder to the soiled pants that you referred to a minute ago, to really serious trauma, guys who give up hunting, lifelong hunters who never go back into the woods. There have been, people suspected of having heart attacks and dying. That's impossible to prove that was the cause, but there are a lot of people that suspect that, some traumatic events like that are because of encounters. So, be careful what you ask for is the answer to the question, because I am not at all sure, even to this day, that I want to see one. I mean, I guess my ideal encounter, Chris, would be something at about 75 yards. That was where I'm seeing them and they are not seeing me. And they're crossing a trail or something like that. And I can say,
you'd have to be downwind and in the stank, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be smelling them and they would not be smelling me.
Yeah.
And
then as your motor drive on your camera was just whizzing by, he would slowly turn and cock his head and then vanish like a phantom in the mists of London fog or something.
Yeah. Well, photos are an interesting topic because, at this point, there are so many photos in existence that.
Well, there's so many blob squatch photos, I think is the term.
Well, that is a term, but there are also some clear ones too. And, for skeptics who won't be convinced by anything, one of the, I go through in the book this typology of belief. People who are seekers, people who are believers, people who are knowers, which is a subset of believers, people who are denialists, who will just deny it. Kind of like what you were saying about the 3-foot alien in the rose garden. No matter what they're shown, they're gonna find a way to explain it away. And you show people a fuzzy picture, and they'll say, "Well, that's a blob squatch. There's no way that thing is real." And you show them a clear picture, and they say, "Well, that's way too clear. That's obviously a hoax. Nothing would ever be that clear." So they concoct criteria for proof that can never be satisfied, and that's the sign of what I call the denialist, or the radical.
There's plenty of them around.
Irrational skeptics who are, for in UFO phenomenon, they try to explain all UFOs are swamp gas or ball lightning.
You mean they're not? Hey, wait a minute here. I was looking for all the swamp gas. The guy who brought up swamp gas, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, almost never lived that down, really. Because,
is that right?
Yeah, I think he realized that he was basically being forced to say something. Oh, swamp gas, something of that nature. We have Avrel Seale, and we have Gene Steinberg, and we have Chris O'Brien. We're taking a monster hike. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great t-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Before we got started, and you heard that part of the episode, I was talking with Avrel about the area he selected, which was a forest to look into. And he mentioned that we had Sasquatch there, but not so much other events. How does one look into something like that if he's going back there to see if there's a possibility this is a portal? What should he do?
This is for Chris, right?
Yeah, for Chris.
Oh, me?
You're on.
Well, I don't know. Bring an extra change of underwear.
Check.
You have, no lust for result, no expectations. Always be vigilant. mark out your campsite very carefully with tin cans and fish line or whatever type of motion sensing equipment that you have battery life for, because you want an early warning system. There's a bunch of things. To me, it's like looking for a needle in a stack of needles. That's why a lot of these shows, I can't believe that people take them seriously, because the least likely time that you're going to find a Bigfoot or encounter a Bigfoot is when you're looking for one. And that would be my biggest argument against the authenticity of the Gimlin-Patterson film, for instance. The very fact that they were out there looking for a Bigfoot and found one and were able to film it rings alarm bells in my mind. It's invariably the last thing on your mind is when you generally encounter these creatures. And the same with I think not every UFO sighting, of course, but I've seen plenty of UFOs when I've been out looking for them. But with Bigfoot, it's different. There seems to be it's almost like they can pick up on your intentions or something, that they have some weird sixth sense that allows them to avoid people who are out looking for them. And very, you do hear accounts of people stumbling on them and the Bigfoot looks as surprised as the person feels. But they're an exception. Generally, it's a Bigfoot revealing himself and allowing you to see him or her. It tends to be more, at least, and I'm generalizing here a little bit, obviously, but my sense is they reveal themselves when they feel the time is right and the particular person is right for some reason. That's why I think that there's a snowball's chance in hell that Matt Moneymaker or any of these people that are seen banging trees on TV are ever going to really have a true encounter. I think we have a lot of feigned drama going on. Not having seen any of the shows, I really can't tell you that for sure, but that would be my guess.
I've got one thing to say about this business of tree knocking and calling for responses. And, I did that a couple of times with my boys in the early days, just kind of for fun, just goofing around. But I stopped doing that. I stopped doing both of those things because one day it just dawned on me, I have no idea what I'm saying. If this is a form of communication, maybe a tree knock is, there's a deer down over here. And then one comes over expecting a deer down and they see me and they say, well, it doesn't look very appetizing, but I guess it'll do. So that's just to say that, let's be careful about speaking a foreign language when we have no idea what it is we're trying to say, what it is we're saying out loud.
That's a really good point. And I guess if you're doing it aggressively, you might be asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it could be males being territorial, saying, stay out of this area, and so you're there screaming. That's taken as a threat to another male in a family group. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that encounter.
No.
So it's just for me. What you said earlier about stealth being the wiser path is something that I really decided was true. And finding Bigfoot is fine so long as it goes. I mean, it's entertaining. The most compelling part of the show to me are the witness encounters. They've talked to over 90, by my estimation. I mean, they've done over 90 episodes, and in every episode, there's probably 35 people that raise their hands and tell their stories. And to me, that's the best part of the show, is hearing these people's their encounter stories. But they never seem to get any closer to the goal. One, I think, because they've never, that I can tell, never spend more than a week in one place. Whatever you think of Patterson Gimlin, they had been out almost 2 weeks on horseback when they shot the footage of Patty.
Right.
Finding Bigfoot, folks, they're in a state park for one night, and well, didn't find it. Now it's raining, so we got to go. Or it started raining, so we turned in for the night, and now we're on to Georgia in the next place. So they're not, their goal is not to find Bigfoot. Their goal is to
entertain the crowd and sell soap.
Get the next episode in the can. and get on to the next. There's a very clear formula for it, and it's fine. But this we're now 5 or 6 years into this, and some episodes are better than others. They've gotten a little bit of thermal footage, the occasional vocalization, but that doesn't. Where does that really get us? Where does that move the needle on proving that they exist? To have one more episode where you can just barely hear a faint little call in the distance, and that to me that lends ammunition to the skeptics that say, well, they didn't find it again, did they? So I would prefer, if I were the producer of that show, I would send them into a national forest and leave them there for about 4 months.
A few people I'd like to do that with. You're tempting me right now. I can think of a few people I've associated with over the years, and those associations have not been as friendly as I'd like. And that's nobody's sweat, nobody's pain. It's not your fault or anything. Things happen. And I think I'd like to maybe do that. I'm not a violent person. Remember that. It's just a casual wish. Or as someone once said, make it so.
There's a group that you're probably aware of called the North American Wood Ape Conservancy. They actually did a 2-year study in a valley in far eastern Oklahoma near the Arkansas border. They did a study of this one area. It was on private property, and they refer to it as Area X. And the same group has done extensive research in Sam Houston National Forest and in the Big Thicket National Preserve, a few miles east of Sam Houston. They've labeled those areas Area X, Area Y, and Area Z. But in Area X in Oklahoma, they did I believe it was I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was something like either a 2 or a 4 year stakeout of this valley, and got some remarkable results. It took thousands of man hours of sitting around watching these thermal screens at night, and they still didn't get any proof. They're a kill organization. They will call it a pro-science organization, but their objective is to harvest a specimen, because that is the only way science will ever acknowledge the existence of the species. And they took some shots. They took 2 shots out there, and they found a blood trail from where they had hit one of these things, but they couldn't recover the body. Anyway, that's just to say that there are investigators out there who are in it for the long haul and are putting in the time. And there were multiple people, and they would switch out. They would do this in shifts. A team of 4 guys would go out there for 2 weeks on their vacations, spend their vacations freezing in a pop-up tent with black plastic around it, looking through thermal scopes. And then they would go back to work, and another 4 guys would come out there and do 2 weeks. And so off and on for something like 4 years, they studied this area, and they produced a 200-page report. And they had something like 48 sightings in that time. But when you divide that number into the amount of man hours that they were out there looking, it's incredible. It's something like a 1-second sighting for every 35 hours of man hours of looking, or something like that. Yeah. I've got the statistic in the book.
Let's do the break. Wow. Okay, a lot of time to spend there with Gene and Chris and Avrel. You're in
the Paracast.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors, classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Well, you can, and you don't even have to go out of your way. We're talking about the world's softest pajamas, available exclusively at pajamagram.com. That's pajamagram.com. Created by a team of dedicated pajama experts, the world's softest pajamas are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love the way the world's softest pajamas feel, and you'll love the way they look. More than a gift, they're a feeling, an invitation to relax a little longer. The world's softest pajamas are available only at pajamagram.com. Visit today and give her a gift that keeps on giving to both of you. Plus, you don't even have to wrap because every Pajamagram includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA-packed technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
People search the internet for everything, including you. With a few clicks, information from your past can be quickly discovered, from business deals gone wrong to misleading reviews, negative articles, and unflattering images. Studies show 78% of people search for someone online before doing business with them. Will they find the real you? With ReputationDefender.com, you can establish a positive internet presence. ReputationDefender.com pioneered the field with over a decade of experience, serving thousands of successful individuals and businesses. We use patented, award-winning systems to boost positive content and suppress negative material. Don't let the internet define you. Take control of your reputation today with ReputationDefender.com. For your quick, free reputation analysis, call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. So much fun, you'll forget you have a wife and kids. $39.95 and free economy shipping. Use discount code GCN and get an extra 10% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Makes the perfect stocking stuffer. Get your Bug Assault today.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Okay, Avrel Seale, he's author of Monster Hike, a 100-mile inquiry into the Sasquatch mystery. As we progress the final segments of the show, do you think that things you expected to see and or learn were unlearned or were different than what you expected?
Well, you know, I have a different view on that, Forrest. I have not been back. I will go back. I want to go back, but I just haven't had this. This was only this time last year that I was out there. The whole question of whether these creatures are dangerous or not is way more prominent in my mind than it used to be. At one time, after the point at which I pretty much accepted that they existed, I, like most people, considered them these reclusive, gentle giants who were always retreating from our view. You know, you were lucky if you ever got a glimpse of one. After hearing a lot of stories over the last couple of years, it's not at all clear to me anymore that that's their nature. And it's entirely possible that they're extremely violent and extremely dangerous. And that is something that I can't unlearn. And so I don't think I can ever go out there again with the same kind of outlook that I had in the early trips that I took before I had done quite so much research about them. There was an innocence There's a chapter of the book called East of Eden. And I think, there was a sort of innocence about my early travels out there, and about most people's travels out there, that they don't consider the possibilities that these things, if they're out there, and if you're out there and they're out there, they have 100% control of the situation, unless you're heavily armed, with a submachine gun or something like that. They have all the power in that relationship. As a society, we have the power. As a species, we have the power, clearly. We've dominated the earth. We've been to the moon, et cetera. But on a one-to-one basis, in isolation in the wilderness, they have 100% of the power. That's frightening. That's kind of a gut check in the middle of the night when you hear something moving around your campsite. That's fear at a primal level that I had never experienced before. It colors the way you think about nature, camping, the outdoors, all the things that most people just associate with 100% positivity. Now there's a little asterisk on all of that for me. And I'm heads up. I don't go out there armed like a lot of guys do. I'm not anti-gun in that way, but I just don't go out there with that. I didn't take a gun on this trip. There were times I wish I had. There were times when I was out there when I was like, I should have brought a gun, period. But I didn't, and I made it through. And I think, Chris, it goes to your point about intention. That was kind of in the back of my head, is like this thought of we sort of attract what we prepare for. I don't know if this is just, new age nonsense, or this law of attraction is a real thing, but I debated, and I actually shopped for guns, and debated on this question of whether to carry or not out there. And I kind of came down on the side of, one, a gun is heavy, and I was trying to minimize my weight. Remember, I'm walking 100 miles here, with all my camping stuff on my back. So I was very cognizant of the weight of everything. And B, I thought there was a good chance that I'd wind up shooting myself accidentally than effectively using a firearm against something that had determined it was going to attack me.
Well, yeah, or just you're going to piss it off.
Yeah, right. The common knowledge is that you need about a 50 caliber piece of ammunition to slow one of these things down, or at least, like you say, it's just kind of feels more like a pellet or a air rifle to them.
Yeah, well, like a bear. Anything smaller than 30-06 or a big game rifle, hitting it in a vulnerable spot will just take it off, basically, and you're dead. And I would think the same would probably hold true with a Bigfoot. I would seriously question anybody that would have the guts to fire a gun at an intelligent humanoid that's between 7 and 10 feet tall. I wouldn't advise it. And the guys at Ape Canyon, the famous Ape Canyon story is a classic example of what happens when you do wound a Bigfoot. They all come back and they start trying to tear your log cabin down and inundate it with boulders and that sort of thing. And you don't want to tick them off.
It's a bad night.
That would be my number one worry, would be ticking one off. But that comes from personal experience, because I ticked one off. And it was the most terrifying thing that had ever happened to me in my life.
Well, I'd like to hear about that.
Well, I've told the story many times here at the Paracast, but we found a logging road that went up to the base of Mount Shasta on the western side, and like your impenetrable hedges in Texas, we encountered some mountain huckleberry or some sort of madrona or something, or manzanita type plant that was impenetrable. We smelled something really bad. I admonished my buddy, they better check his drawers. And then whatever it was, it kind of gave a questioning kind of vocalization. And then it screamed at us and started coming through the impenetrable hedge that, you couldn't even get your arm into it. I doubt even with a really good chainsaw that I would have been able to. We're at 11,000 plus feet in elevation. This is extremely old and tough plant growth, and this thing is crashing through it.
I think that's what they like. This vision we have of them in this old growth forest with the huge redwoods or whatever. That's fine. But when what you're describing is exactly the kind of thing. It was in mile 67 of this hike that I took the photo that's on the cover of this book. That's the 18-inch print. I call it the Magnolia Alpha Male because it was in the Magnolia section of the trail. But on either side of the trail, right up to the trail, was this thick monoculture of Yopon. It was a weird area. I looked behind that track for another one, and I looked in front of it for another one, and it didn't leave any other tracks but this one. I'll never forget how weird of an area it was because it was so thick. I couldn't have gotten myself through that to save my life.
Yeah. And there's no way that I could have gotten in. I mean, there were parts of it that were 5-6 feet tall, but it went up to 7-8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And there's just no way that you could have, even with a pair of the sharpest machete, a pair of, real heavy duty loppers.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that you could have gotten through this. And what terrified my buddy and I was this thing was going through that hedge right at us.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened the next 20 minutes, half hour. Ultrasonic, something blanked me out. We made it the quarter mile back to the van, and we were halfway down the logging road, miles down the road, before I have my first memory in recollection of what happened. I have no memory of getting down the quarter mile to the van, of getting in the van and driving miles down the logging road. I have absolutely no memory whatsoever, and neither does Fritz, my traveling companion.
Gene and Chris, and our special guest this week, Avrel. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Well, you can, and you don't even have to go out of your way. We're talking about the world's softest pajamas, available exclusively at pajamagram.com. That's pajamagram.com. Created by a team of dedicated pajama experts, the world's softest pajamas are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love the way the world's softest pajamas feel, and you'll love the way they look. More than a gift, they're a feeling, an invitation to relax a little longer. The world's softest pajamas are available only at pajamagram.com. Visit today and give her a gift that keeps on giving to both of you. Plus, you don't even have to wrap because every Pajamagram includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Message and data rates may apply.
Warning, texting while driving is illegal just about everywhere. So if you want to take advantage of a life-changing LASIK offer, pull over when you can because a special opportunity is just one text away. The LASIK Vision Institute is offering absolutely free evaluations and dramatically low prices on high-quality LASIK. Text the keyword CLEAR55 to 350350 to get the benefit of FDA-approved LASIK technology that gives the majority of patients 20/20 vision for a fraction of what others charge. Text to schedule your free appointment to see if LASIK is right for you. When you text CLEAR55 to 350350, you'll also get an extra 20% discount off our already low-cost services. We've already performed over 1 million procedures. Today, it's your turn. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you've always wanted for a fraction of what others charge. This great offer is just a text away. Text CLEAR55 to 350350. That's CLEAR55 to 350350.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. 800-667-9035. That's 800-667-9035.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So it's almost like missing time, huh, Chris?
Well, I've had people back engineer the experience and say that there was some sort of ultrasonics going on, that they have the ability to rumble you with some sort of extremely low frequencies that trigger your fear center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and your fight or flight. I mean, forget fight. If I had been a bird, I would have flown away.
It's all flight.
Yeah, it was definitely flight. And now that I think about it, I would have responded differently. It's when it gave out the loud vocalization that echoed off the foothills a mile away. That's what really scared me. And it sounded, I've described it many times as sounding like a bull elephant, a lion roaring, and an angry steam engine.
Yeah,
is the only way that I can describe it. It was so powerful. I've been in rock and roll bands on and off for 30 years, and I've had my ear burst by Richie Blackmore hitting a high E note on the Made in Japan tour where I lost 50% of my hearing. I have heard loud sounds. I have never heard something that rattled my eardrums like this. It reverberated through my bones. It was so loud, and it obviously. It had quite an impression because like I said, I don't even know how long. I don't remember, at least 20 minutes, minimum of 20 minutes, probably longer, that I blanked out, and it was on autopilot. And that's scary. I've never, ever been even close to being in that lack of a frame of mind or whatever.
Yeah. That makes it real, like
terrifying.
You said earlier you would do something different. You would respond differently today. I don't know that you would. That's a point I'm trying to make earlier. We're not in control of our response when we have an encounter with one of these things. I just firmly believe that.
No, when I smelled it, I would have instantly gone backwards.
Yeah, I think at that point we're in an animal state of fear, and we don't know the infrasound. This is a very real phenomenon that too many people report this for it to not to be real. But I just don't believe, even knowing all that I know and, having the curiosity that I have about this phenomenon, I also know that I would not be in control of my reaction were I to have an encounter. We're not in control at that point. It's too primal. It's too frightening.
Yeah.
To gut level place.
Well, and you have to understand though. But since then, this was in the early spring of '79. Since then, I've been to some of the most haunted sites in America. I've investigated over somewhere around 200 cattle mutilations. I've had UFO encounters daylight within 150 yards of me. I've been in some really interesting, freaky places at the right time. With that kind of experience now and seasoning, if you will, mm-hmm. I do think that I would respond in a different way and be able to, the infrasound stuff, I'm not sure about that. The cavalier attitude that we had, I think that elicited the kind of a very aggressive behavior. If I hadn't made the comment, well, you better check your drawers, dude. that cavalier attitude, I think is for some reason, I don't know. It just seems to me that attitude it picked up on, and it was like, how dare you come up here and disturb me,
Sit down, be humble. That's what it was
Well,
saying.
yeah. Well, no, go, let me chase you away as quickly as you can go.
Right. Yeah.
No, there's
a
a
good
difference. I would have been much more alert, much more respectful. I would have gone into stealth mode. I wouldn't have made jokes and that sort of thing. And who's to say? I mean,
I see your
until
point.
it happens again, I can't say really. But I'm a much different person now than I was 40 years ago.
Me too. As are we all.
Yeah, as are we all. So a couple other things I want to talk to you about. What is it about Bigfoot and people making out and having sex? It's an element of Bigfoot encounters that you don't hear much about. I mean, it's mentioned in the literature, but there seems to be a fascination and a preoccupation even, in some sense of the word, Bigfoot and lovers' lanes, people getting it on in their houses, peeping Tom type activity. Is Bigfoot kinky, or are people just kind of misinterpreting its interest?
Well, this is not a subject I've ever given any thought to, but I'll venture a theory. I think that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that they are very close to humans, if not hybrids of some sort. And if we have a fascination about a certain subject, then they're relatives of ours, and they're likely to have a similar fascination. So it's not a do as we say, not as we do thing.
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because of some, as I mentioned, the DuPont Monster events. Momo near Ellsbury, Missouri, was the initial encounters with Momo in, I think, 77, 78. We're on lovers' lanes, and it was spying on kids making out in cars, having sex in the backseats of automobiles. And then a series of events that happened here in Arizona in 2005, where there was a half a dozen sightings of Bigfoot that was being called in to tribal authorities at the White Mountain Apache reservation up there as a peeping Tom. And people didn't know who it was that was peeping in the window. They didn't know it was Bigfoot until the cops came and then checked, found the footprints and that and other, sign. And it wasn't until the last report, actually, of I think it was 6 or 7 reports, that the officers, when they got the 911 call, they were just driving by the driveway of the person making the call, coincidentally, and so they roared up the driveway, and their headlights caught the Bigfoot looking in the bedroom window. Yep. And they went on, the local network affiliate in Phoenix in their uniforms and talked about the flurry of sightings, showed the reports. They were in their uniforms. They were, for Native Americans to, especially law enforcement, to come forward and admit that they had been investigating of a series of sightings of a peeping Tom Bigfoot. That it always struck me. And then, I'm talking with David Childress, my former publisher, and he talks about the DuPont Monster that is attracted by the wild flailings in the back seats of of cars on lovers' lanes. And he mentioned in his book, was it Sasquatch, Giants, and Hairy Monsters, or whatever, Hairy Humanoids, how there seems to be an attraction to pheromonal or hormonal activity generated by hot, passionate activities in the back of cars and in bedrooms. And I just bring it up because, I find it very compelling, and there seems to have, there's a ring to that, and I'm not sure what it is.
There's a paradox in this, that on the one hand, they seem hardwired to avoid us. And on the other hand, they have the curiosity that all primates have, let alone humans. They have this curiosity about us, and just like we have a curiosity about them.
Yeah.
And that's what and I think that there's a lot of looking in windows, be it looking at sex acts or not.
Right. There's a lot of peeping Tom type activity. That's fairly common, actually. I've always thought, thinking about this, which I don't really give it too much thought.
We got a little bit more to come. Final segment. Moving really fast with Avrel Seale and Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
You've been hearing Dr. Wallach talking about 90 essential nutrients, keeping the body healthy. GCNteam.com now has Beyond Tangy Tangerine tablets, 60 plant-derived minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, packed in a powerful tablet. But that's not it. 160,000 auric points, a knockout punch to free radicals. Call 877-878-4203 or go to GCNteam.com. That's 877-878-4203.
So, are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
So Chris was going to start something, and we want to continue with it.
Well, I don't want to sound flippant or anything, but maybe male Bigfoot just don't get enough. Maybe they're cut off, and they're looking for anything that they can get at any particular time. What about females being accosted by Bigfoot? This is a subject that you don't hear about very much. There are reports of this kind. They're pretty rare. I remember, I think, a Sammamish or a Salish Native American story of the fair maiden of the chief or of one of the chiefs in the tribe being given, every so many years they offer a maiden to the Bigfoots who take them away and they're never seen again. Kind of where the King Kong narrative may come from. I've always felt that there was a connection there. But there are some Native American stories that do talk about offering women to Bigfoot for some sort of genetic purpose, one would assume. There are areas of Bigfoot research that I don't think enough thought has been, or at least not enough work has been done or some sort of research and pondering the subject. And I think part of that is, as you brought up, the whole gene pool aspect to this. We're dealing with a breeding population, and that population is pretty small. So anything with even the slightest bit of intelligence may have a sense that it needs to expand that genetic pool somehow.
Right.
They're not going to be taking trips to visit the wild man in Siberia, the Yeti in the Avrel Valley of Nepal. So they got to kind of make do with what they got.
I'm aware of 2 stories of sexual contact with horses. You talk about, them kind of just being randy sailors.
There's a 1 or 2 in
how do I say it?
Yaks too in Nepal, I think, or Tibet.
Humans are not too good for that either. This is another similarity, kind of uncomfortable point of comparison and similarity with humans.
It's a concern of a limited breeding population to make sure that the gene pool remains robust. This is not something that many people are willing to even talk about or address in the Bigfoot research community that I'm aware of. I'm a peripheral guy. I don't really, I'm not really plugged into all the ins and outs and conversations that are taking place around this subject, but I have enough of a knowledge to know that this is not mentioned very much at all. And that is, if there's a limited population of just several thousand, let's say, Bigfoot, maybe, I don't know, less than 10,000 in North America. I mean, how do you put a number on that?
That's so hard.
Yeah, but still, we're talking in the thousands here. We're not talking millions. Buffalo, they were down below, just barely below 1,000. I think 960 something buffalo were left before they had to save the species, basically, because they were almost extinct. This to me would be a real concern. And of course, then the work of David Pilates comes to mind, of all these women that end up missing in national forests and in national parks. One has to wonder where that robust genetic influx into the gene pool is coming from. And this is not something that at least I am familiar with being bannered about by the mainstream Bigfoot community, if you can call them mainstream.
That's one of my favorite terms, is mainstream Bigfoot community. I know what you mean.
What are we dealing with here?
Boy, I did listen to your interview with Jeff Meldrum and the discussion that y'all had about the Ketchum study, which is something that I mentioned in the book. I don't know. I don't have a advanced degree in genetics, and I can't really look into the points at which that study was criticized are kind of a black box to me. I don't pretend to have the scientific background to be able to evaluate that in any kind of objective way. But I do think that just on the surface, it's a credible, the hybridization theory is credible. They have pendulous breasts, e.g. the Patterson-Gimlin film. They have very humanoid feet with a big toe that has migrated completely in line with the others as opposed to the opposable big toe of the great apes. They have a downward-facing nose, unlike the great apes. Their hands are very humanoid. Their faces are very humanoid. They walk upright. So there's a lot of just morphological evidence that, yes, this is something that if it's not half human, it's very close to human on the tree of life.
Right.
And so just on its face, no pun intended, the theory of the hybrid theory has some credibility for me in the face of no other kind of genetic testing that's been done. I kind of give her the benefit of the doubt. As I say in the book, I think she's made some unforced errors in the way that she rolled it out, and in kind of the things that she's done since then, like writing a fictional novel about forest people, and I think she's muddied the waters for herself a little bit about that.
That's almost a game ender right there.
Yeah, I mean, but I am not ready to say that there's nothing to that study. So,
well, we do have scientists that are willing to look at it. Brian Sykes is an example of someone that's willing to, get beyond the poo-pooing of his colleagues and that sort of thing. And Jeffrey is just in my mind, is a real hero in this whole scenario. The guy has more. He's a John Paul Jones, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead kind of guy. And I like that. And I really admire that. And we need more scientists like Jeffrey and like Brian Sykes to throw their hat in the ring and say, hey, look, this is something that needs to be, the powers of diagnostic science need to be thrown at this. So, stop your snickering and let's get busy.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like I'm on a soapbox or anything, but I just get so tired of the ivory towers of science pontificating about something that is relying on basically statistics and relying on the reestablishment of conditions for experimentation. And this whole thing is we're objective, we're not subjective. And it's like we now know that everything is subjective. Hello, the very fact that you're observing something changes it. So, I think we're at a real quincunx, I think would be the term. You start looking at Bigfoot and paranormal subjects and the involvement of science. Hopefully within my lifetime, we're going to see the hatchet be buried somewhat, and the two opposite sides of the equation getting together and co-opting their efforts to come to a better understanding of this wonderful reality that we live in. And a book like yours, I think, goes a long way to introduce people to a subject that they may not be attracted to, but have kind of this thing, wow, I really, I wonder what is this about? Well, it's a good entry-level book, I think, for people interested in the subject. I mean, what more can I say?
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Hey, please tell our listeners if they're interested in more of the stuff that you do. Let us know where they find you.
My blog is called The Trailhead, and it's just my name, Avrel Seale, AvrelSeale.wordpress.com. I've got some photos that are kind of like a companion to the book on one page of my blog. My blog is not all, by any means, it's not even mostly cryptozoology. It's just an eclectic range of things that I write about. But this is the latest thing on the blog, and there are some photos if you want to see kind of what the landscape looks like around there and some of the things I spotted.
Hey, you can find us on Twitter if you look for the Paracast. You can also find 2 Paracast fan clubs on Facebook. You can find Chris O'Brien at OurStrangePlanet.com. You can also find After the Paracast, the other radio show we do, which is kind of an extension of this one or something altogether different. It's unpredictable. It's part of the Paracast Plus package. To learn more, go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. And you can also get a version of this show as a member, free of the network ads with better quality audio. We've got videos up there, all sorts of good stuff. Plus.theparacast.com. theparacast.com. We're so happy that Chris finally found a way to make Skype work, because I think they were really plotting against us there. They were tricksters over there at Microsoft. Avrel Seale, thank you for joining us on the Paracast.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.